Okay, so I was wondering, can we please for once start the sketch right away without making a stupid intro?
I don't know. It is such an integral part of the Robotus formula.
Fuck it, why not? I ain't in the mood for an extended intro sequence anyways. Get straight to the point and dash.
Oh, cool. Alright, since I heard about the recent return in Camelot and that whole commotion it caused, I wanted to ask you, Twilight. That whole thing with Sakura seemed pretty serious in last episode.
Oh yeah, that had me quite worried as well. Is it true that she really wanted to take your place as the new princess?
Yep, and she didn't let any pony talk her out of it. She was that set on Celestia's word being law, even though that alicorn was more than just a little beyond sane. Sakura didn't care about any of that, or that Celestia was no longer Princess of Equestria. Since she had declared her a princess during the time when she still was, Sakura was convinced that she still rightfully carried that title.
But if I recall correctly, it was Celestia herself who sent her to the moon. Wouldn't that kind of negate her intention of making her a princess?
Not in Sakura's eyes. She also wouldn't accept that Nation does ram with Wen, but that's just by the way.
Okay, so does that mean she got her will in the end? Did you actually resign and leave the throne to her?
Don't be ridiculous, Fluttershy. As if it could be expected that there's any form of meaningful change happening in this series. It actually turned out completely different, though honestly exactly as one would expect knowing Robotus. After Luna had left the room, Sakura and I spent about the next hour or so fighting over her incorrect rhymes. Seriously, it's baffling to me that a zebra who's known for speaking only in rhymes doesn't even know basic lyricism.
Well, you know how they say, a character's only ever as smart as the person writing them.
Anyway, we took so long with arguing that Luna eventually came back. And it turned out she wasn't only leaving the sketch out of frustration, she actually had gone away to look something up. A solution to this newest problem at hoof.
So in other words, Robotus just pulled a Deus Ex Machina to resolve that conflict. And he didn't even bother to do it on screen.
One can argue that, but I for one found it more than welcome. Luna had discovered that Sakura isn't actually a real citizen of Equestria.
What?
She wasn't registered with an official equestrian citizenship.
Wait, how's that supposed to make sense? She's been living in the Everfree Forest for more than 10 years now. How come she's not a citizen of this country?
Simple, because she never applied for it. She never bothered to deal with all the paperworks.
Well, you gotta admit that getting citizenship in this country is a real pain in the ass. Like if I wanna go live in Yakistan, I ain't gonna learn their fucking history and shit. No one gives a single shit about another country's past, and we've all due rights. So why should any pony do that when they come here? Honestly, I can understand her wanting to put up with that.
Sakura felt the same way, so she took to a simpler solution. Instead of getting an official citizenship, she applied for a student visa in Equestria. Stemming from Nigeria originally, she claimed to have come here to study equestrian culture for her doctorate in foreign studies. I know she herself admitted that this is a bunch of bogus, but it was enough to get her a visa. The problem was that a visa in Equestria only accounts for a single year, so she had to renew it yearly. And since it was trapped on the moon since the very start of the series, she missed her refreshing date, which led to her visa being expired now. And law demands that a foreign pony without a fitting visa has to be deported back to their homeland. Which is exactly what happened to Sakura.
Gee, seriously? That's pretty fucking dark, even for Robotus standards.
And also kind of stupid if you ask me. Didn't she at least get a chance to renew her visa? I mean, she did have a very good reason for missing the date.
Normally she would have, of course. Additionally, I myself might have also been able to pull some strings and arrange for her to be able to stay. But as callous as it sounds, to me this was nothing but a welcome opportunity. Considering she wouldn't at all back down from her demands to become the new Princess of Friendship, I did what I had to preserve my title.
So to get this clear, Sakura is already back in Nigeria?
Yeah, we had a ship with the very first vessel.
Damn, that's fucking cold. Do you really have no remorse for what you did?
Maybe a little, but she did leave me no choice. Besides, it didn't end all bad for her. Or did it, Rarity?
What are y'all asking her for?
Well, because I happen to know what exactly became of Sakura after she arrived back home.
Which is what?
And even more importantly, why? How do you know the whereabouts of a zebra that ain't even here anymore?
The answer to that is quite obvious once you know it. Though honestly, given how often we already talked about it, you should have my connections to Nigeria in mind. When Sakura arrived, she was pretty much broke because that whole deportation thing to get rid of her happened overnight.
We did send her belongings after her on a second ship. Or at least I'm pretty certain we did. At the very least, I was planning to do that.
Anywho, she was pretty desperate to make a living and she happened to turn to one of my local associates. He called me right away and informed me of Sakura's conditions. True to my element of generosity, I gave her a job in my local business there.
You mean the crystal mine where your slave folds are working?
And now she's among them, mining the fucking crystals?
Please, God, tell me she's getting paid there.
What? Holy shit in heaven, what kind of stupid question is that? Of course I'm paying her, I'm not a barbarian after all.
Phew, thank fucking Christ for that. 'Cause that's pretty much the only thing keeping this whole turn of events from becoming one of the most troublesome comparisons this channel ever made.
I mean, the implications are already bad enough as it is.
What implications?
Well, I can't deny that I can see it as well. A zebra who has next to nothing working in the extortion business of a first-world unicorn. And we are basically responsible for that.
What do you mean, we? Don't drag the rest of us into this mess.
I see your point. It does bear some worrisome resemblances. Oh well. Normally I wouldn't have allowed a pony like her to work for me at all. But since I knew her from home, I made an exception.
Hold the fuck on, Rarity. What do you mean, a pony like her?
Why, isn't that obvious? An adult. As a pony of virtue and morality, I am forced to pay a grown mare a fair salary. How else would I be able to look at myself in the mirror?
Says the same pony who has slaves working in a crystal mine.
Yes, sure, but those are just fools. They have no such rights in labor law, therefore I am not infringing on any. You see, this allows me to extort those fools without remorse or a guilty conscience. Neat how I was able to find a loophole, no?
To avoid having to comment on that, I have another question, Rarity. What are your slaves doing exactly in that mine? I mean, you did mention a statue of some kind, but that was like almost a year ago when you first brought it up. Any news on that?
Funny you would ask that, because that statue has actually been fully built. In fact, it's been completed for quite some time now. I'm just waiting for the right time to have it delivered to me. Plus, I still don't know where I should even put it, and before that's settled, I'd rather have it stay where it's safe. But yes, the original reason for my expansion there has been finished. The next order of business for me would be to close camp down there and relocate my assets back to Equestria. But in all honesty, I think I'm going to keep the business running. The blood diamond business turned out to be surprisingly profitable. To an extent where abandoning it would be just unreasonable. So I think I'll just keep it running and profiting for as long as possible.
To be honest, I always found it strange that you as the owner of a boutique would be running a diamond mine with slave labor as your illegal business.
Yeah, one would rather expect something like a sweatshop.
Ugh, yuck. Never would I ever. I might be a cruel slaver that runs an extortion business, but I do have my standards. And I pride myself with my fashion, the Rarity brand, being 100% refined. No dirty practice has ever come into contact with my products. I always obsessively make sure of that. All my products and materials are exclusively fair trade.
Fair trade? So you're trading with ponies in the same country that you hold slaves in?
What? No, how did you get that ridiculous idea? My materials stem directly from Manhattan.
I somehow get the feeling you don't really know what fair trade means.
Oh, don't be silly, of course I do. Fair trade means fair business between equal ponies with equal rights. And a transaction like that is only possible in Equestria.
Wow, honestly, Rarity, the more sketches go by, you just keep evolving into the worst pony of this entire series. Like, every time I think you've reached your moral event horizon, you just drop to an entirely new low. You don't even get how delusional and sick your worldview is, do you?
Oh, in that you are gravely mistaken. The great thing about cruelty is the fact that you choose to be this way.
Jesus Christ, Rarity. I don't think you've ever said anything worse.
Oh, please, Twilight. I'm convinced that I've already said way worse. But I would like to suggest we change topics. After we spent the majority of the sketch talking about me, how about we shift focus and talk about me instead? Because originally this thing with Sakura was supposed to take up only the beginning of this episode, but it was actually planned that we talk about something different. That being my endeavors to get back into the Canterlot Club.
What is interesting is that probably won't be. Sadly, we're out of time for this sketch. But don't worry, we'll just film another one right after, so you won't have to wait that long.
But what about the viewers? They're the ones who desperately want to know how my story continues.
The only thing Robotus' viewers might be desperate for is that this fucking channel finally crumbles in on itself.
Well, there's always next episode. It's only a matter of time before Robotus tackles the wrong topic to make fun of and angers the wrong people.
Like you ain't done there countless times by now.
He sure as heck seems to be trying his hardest.
Alright, now you girls are just intentionally wasting time to stall my topic and annoy me.
You just know us too well, Rarity.
Asshats.